Living, and Post Malone and Morgan Wallen with I Had Some Help. And we couldn't do Healthy Minds, Better Lives without the help and the assistance and the guidance and the experience of Tammy and Hayley. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. Nice to be back.
It is good to be back. Blink, and here we appear. We are like the genie in the lamp because we don't know where the time goes.
Not at all. This month in particular, I swear it's getting faster every month.
Hayley was hilarious. To keep in touch with each other, we've got a bit of a group, and we were sharing some ideas back and forth. And the revelation from Hayley was that, it's here. It's now. It's coming up. Yeah. It's already the second Thursday. I am gonna definitely forgive, because the 1st of May was the first Thursday, and we are, of course, the second Thursday of every month. So I think it caught me unawares as well, because I was like, oh, usually I do this like 2 weeks before, and then I do this, and it's like, no, it's here. We're here right now.
Yeah.
So thank you, Tammy.
Yes. Otherwise, well, it is in my calendar, but I would be rushing to come now and be like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be on the radio.
Whoopsie.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
But
someone else can take responsibility for next month.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. We'll take it in turns. We'll have we'll go through bits and pieces. Before I ask Hayley and Tammy what they've been getting up to, some things that we're going to be covering today. You might recall last month we had Keris giving us the youth perspective of living in the world at the moment, and we're going to continue that conversation a little bit more now, to do with social media, to do with kind of exam pressures. They've officially started now. And also we're going to look at, because we very much focused heavily on social media of the younger generation last month. Well, now we're going to look at social media for us older types. And there's a particular trend, and it's a very popular thing to be seen, and that's pranking. And some of them, they're just not very nice. And we're wondering, after talking with Keris last month, I wonder what communication goes into making these videos for the likes, for the hits, for the sponsorship. So we're going to delve into that and see whether or not you might be unsuspectingly causing a rift in your own household because you think it's funny, but that might be a very one-sided conversation to be having. We're also going to be looking at self-belief as a superpower, which I love. And in fact, before coming out here, I was on social media. I was on Instagram. And Mr. Jam, I'm going to read out something from Mr. Jam when we get onto that part, because it was inspiring to see how he's journeyed through being someone who makes money, becomes a broadcaster, and now releases music. It was wonderful. So I'm going to read that out for us later on. We're also going to look at loneliness and youth. It's also Dying Matters Awareness Week. It's also Maternal Mental Health Week. And in fact, tomorrow there's going to be a workshop. There's a poster which I'll find more of the details on as we go through the show, where you can get advice, because they're going to be in Pembrokeshire tomorrow. And we are going to be looking, we're going to look back actually to an interview that Lee Hine did on the Community Hour with the Third Place in Milford Haven and with Paul Satori Foundation about Dying Matters Week, which we are in the midst of at the moment. And in fact, Tammy, I'm going to come straight to you because you were at one of the events.
Yes, I was at the Third Place today with Paul Satori and with other service providers, networking, and actually raising awareness. So the theme for this year's campaign is the culture of dying matters. It was really well attended, very thought-provoking as well. Even made me stop to think and question how my upbringing shaped my childhood, my understanding of around death. So again, it's a taboo subject, and one that I don't introduce lightly. But again, it will affect us all at some point. So yeah, I look forward to hearing Lee's interview later.
Yeah, it's one of the great inevitabilities of our life. It's the one thing that we're guaranteed to achieve, which is humbling, and it's what we decide to do on that path to that destination. Mm-hmm. Hayley, what have you been up to?
Well, apart from not knowing my backside from my elbow, seemingly, Obviously, Easter's been, we had bank holiday. I'm sure that's what's thrown me off.
Yeah.
But I've also been enjoying the sunshine as well. And I've been investing in my own well-being, which I'm pretty good at emotionally. I'm not very good at physically. So I'm
Mhm.
kind of putting the physical effort in now. And it's really good, actually. It feels really good.
There's different types of people, isn't there? You've got your empaths, your carers, and you've got these people that exist in the world that primarily feel that they're here for a purpose, and that's to serve other people. And which is wonderful. We all need a good person that can put their arm around us and be like, have you considered this? Have you tried doing this? And typically the conversations we have, we tend to be that person. But what then doesn't happen is we haven't got that person putting their arm around us. So it's important actually for everyone to take stock as to what's going on, and to actually to take stock and to refresh and be like, actually, I'm holding all of these things at the moment, which means I can't hug anyone. So I need to drop something. But that's not a bad thing though, is it, Hayley?
No, and yes, I'm that person who will support anybody and everybody. I'm the one in the house who has the 4 children and is doing everything. And I'm actually, do you know what I've actually done? This is quite the step for me, because I am a little bit of a control freak, not in a controlling people kind of way. I've let go of control of things and I feel a sense of relief. I can see your face, Tom. I know, I didn't think I would do it either. But actually, as I've let go, things have happened that I've been kind of wanting to happen for a long time, because now I'm not stuck holding on to things. It's been a real revelation to
It can
just
breathe.
yeah, I can breathe for the
You
first
can
time.
breathe. The circumstances can breathe. It's amazing what does happen when we just think, actually, I'm going to take a deep breath and just allow what's going to be to be. Presumably, to get to this point, you've communicated, so those around you know what it is, but maybe the methods weren't quite right for the receiver. And now that you're just letting it breathe and kind of grow and foster itself, it's kind of happening.
Yeah, I feel my body feels relaxed, which you don't know how wound up you are until you let it go. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So my body's been completely tense for I don't know how long. I've had a knot in my shoulder for about 10 years.
Whoa.
And the guy I had a massage in Turkey and he managed to get rid of it. It disappeared for about 6 weeks and it came back. I don't know if it's still, I'm going to check actually this week to see if it's that. But my advice to anybody who is feeling tense, who is feeling that kind of build-up of self-pressure, it doesn't have to be external pressure, let go of some control. It is revelatory.
I really like that idea, you know, granting yourself just that that freedom to release something. You know, whether it is that physical object or whether it's that emotional attachment, but to actually, like you say, just giving yourself permission, because you know as humans we will default to that worst case scenario that, you know, if I stop doing this, if I stop doing X, Y, and Z, you know, the whole world's going to stop. It all like resolves, you know, it's all about me and I keep everything together. But the truth is, actually, it will just go on. Things will still happen. And you know, I just remember, like with my eldest, like my teenage, when she was like going through her kind of teenage years, I used to get wound up if like she left like a glass of milk in her bedroom, and she didn't bring it down straight away when she'd finished it. Actually letting go and just leaving her to it, knowing that she will sort it out. It just made everything a much more harmonious place. I felt better for it. Yeah, I completely am on board with granting yourself that freedom, that permission to let go of things.
Yeah. Closely, we will get onto one of our headline topics this evening, but very closely linked to that is people prioritize things in different orders. And it's not when someone doesn't do something that is in your mind, you're like, why have they not brought that milk down from their bedroom yet? But it's a different priority. So it's not that they're not going to do it. It's not that they are protesting, unless it's very obvious a protest. It's just lower on their list.
Yeah.
And eventually the things unravel, and there is that combining of all the tasks together. And then it's like, oh, there you go. I didn't need to have you brought that milk down yet? And then all of a sudden you've got tension, and that goes to that person, and then that person shares it with someone else. They're frustrated, and then you've got the chain of frustration, which just allow things to happen on each individual timeline, because we're all very different.
Even saying that makes me sweat a bit, Tom.
I love that. It's like, what are you talking about, Tom? No, don't know. It needs to come down to the sink now. If you just joined us, we've got a few people watching us on social media as well. Thank you very much to you. We've got Lane with us, and we've got Dalton's with us too. You can get in touch on the comments. You can WhatsApp us 01437 764455. You can use the PWR app, or you can email in confidence studio@purewestradio.com. And as I mentioned before, we were talking social media and the youth of today. We had Keris on last month, which was fantastic. She's back on air this Sunday morning with the YFC show, and it got us discussing about these trends that are on social media at the moment, which, talking of an unharmonious household, of partners and friends and families absolutely obliterating each other with sometimes very dangerous, sometimes very demeaning. Some of them are genuinely funny and quite, innocent. But the ones that get all the clicks and most of the views are those where there's been some form of humiliation. And Hayley, you kind of brought this to the fold last month when we were talking about it. Give us a bit of an overview as to your views on it.
Do I say it all? I'm not a fan. I think there are too many negative role models for relationships out there anyway. And this pranking, it is demeaning. And I'm not saying it's not funny, because some of them are really funny. I see past the kind of the event itself, and what does that mean for that person? I understand that it's probably all scripted, all edited out, and all those things, but really, does that demonstrate a good relationship?
And I think you've already, the thing which gets me is that if you're a viewer, some of them are so convincing that we can very easily overlook that hopefully the majority of them are scripted. Tammy, the impact of seeing these things and thinking, oh, that's acceptable behavior because someone else is doing it in the next town or whatever, can really have a detrimental impact on yourself and how you relate to others anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. We think about social media pranks as, they are this, it's a new trend. It has emerged. They are defined as this kind of humorous, pretentious, sometimes incredibly shocking. They are seen, that we all should take it in, with smiles on our face and enjoy. But for me, while, we see victims, and I say victims because that's how we can be made to feel if we are the joke of the butt of a joke. We can publicly express gratitude and appear to accept the prank afterwards in good faith, in good humor after it's been exposed. But the long-term emotional effect, the psychological impact of such experiences, I think remains really largely unexplored. So we can all kind of be bystanders. We can watch, we can laugh, but for me, from kind of that well-being point of view, I think it's really important that we consider the emotional and the psychological impact that may follow.
Yeah, because it's not really too many points away from just outright bullying, depending on the avenue. That's another thing. We don't necessarily get to choose what we're watching either. So if you find one humorous video where someone's been humiliated, that's hilarious, and all of a sudden you're seeing more, and then you're seeing more. If it's the same person coming back around, and it's the same person that's the butt of the joke, where does entertainment start or end, and where does bullying start? And then how does that then filter into everyday life without the camera? Hayley?
Yeah, I think that's the problem, isn't it? Where's the boundary? Where does that lie for people watching? Excuse me, I got sorry. How does it fall on the person? And it's when I think of pranks, I think of the ones where they have paint balloons and they slap them in the face with these paint balloons, or they shoot them and they drop down. But also there's the ones that tell their partners that they don't love them anymore, or they don't like the way they look, or there's all these things that go on. And I don't see the humor in that, demeaning somebody and belittling somebody for that social status, and they are meant to laugh along. Are they really feeling that humor themselves? And you won't ever really know, because if the agreement is that they're going for social status, they're not going to necessarily ever come out and say that. They might, if they separate and they go their separate ways and they look back and decide that was part and parcel of the separation. But I worry for my children watching social media who do think it's funny, although my children are really realistic about social media, but how many children, how many adults are realistic? I don't know if you remember. Do you remember like chicken leg in school, when somebody'd come up behind you and they'd hit your the backs of your knees or the fronts of their knees, or even a wedgie?
Yeah.
To me, it's tantamount to that kind of behaviour. And yes, some of it was funny, somebody falling on the floor, as long as they weren't injured. I don't know whether it's just I'm getting old and it's not for me. I don't know. I think my kids would possibly agree with some of what I'm saying, but not all of it.
Because there is a difference between a physical prank and an emotional prank, in my view. If someone, you just mentioned falling over, someone falling over is inherently funny. Check they're okay, and then decide what you're going to do after it. In my view, I love a physical prank, or a physical comedy, but I'm part of the era that grew up with like your Jackass and your things like that. But there was always that disclaimer that this is being filmed by professionals. It was obvious it was a prank. It was obvious that they were going to hurt themselves and each other. They were all in on it. And I suppose the difference now is that you don't really know who's in on it. And there's far more emphasis on that emotional pranking. Oh, babe, I was just talking to my ex-girlfriend the other day. She's going to come around for tea and stuff like that. I'm going to go out on a meal and stuff like that. It's like, with no intention of that actually happening. It was like, well, now you've just left that other person in limbo, not knowing, are you not? If you are, am I okay with that? And then they're having to evaluate and make judgments on all these things that isn't even a real thing. So much effort, Tammy.
Well, no, I completely agree. I just think, it's, you're blurring the boundaries between fantasy and reality. It's that psychological impact that it can have on someone. Even going back to your example there, Tom, even if you came back and said, actually, it was a joke, I was messing around, you planted a seed of distrust, or, it's there. It's just going to eat away at someone potentially. And it's just that long-term impact, the emotional impact. It's not going to be healthy for that person, for that relationship. And like I say, once you've come out and you're like, yeah, no, it's fine, it's okay, I'm really relieved, it's it is a joke, it is a prank. It's the kind of invisible scar that it could leave someone or more than one person.
Yeah, and these are with the professionals. These are the ones that are doing it for the clicks and for the likes. That blurring of the boundary is what happens when you've got your everyday person doing this in work, at home, and those of them, like your teens and your adolescents, and they're now mimicking, they're role modeling what they're seeing. It's like, is that going to have an impact with family relationships, with work relationships? Like, how are we now going to work together if there is this undercurrent of well, I don't know if I can trust you because of what you've done before. Like the long-term impact, Hayley, in real life is something that could well become more of a problem too.
Yeah, and I wonder, do they understand what a healthy relationship is? You have to have that foundational trust and healthy relationship for any of that to work. Now, I'm with you, Tom, right? If somebody's been caught on camera falling, I like a good laugh, right? As long as they haven't been pushed or anything like that, I like a good laugh like that. And I will tell my friends, if you fall over, I won't be able to pick you up until I've stopped laughing. I won't push them. That's one thing I don't do. This intentional emotional injury, is that how we want to put it? I don't know. It's not funny. It doesn't, and I'm pretty sure, right, there's got to be millions of people laughing at it and they think it's hilarious. But if we haven't got the foundational healthy relationship in place and we are going around doing those things, saying those things, it just doesn't, for me, it doesn't fit healthy.
Over on Instagram, I'm not going to say the name because it's usually quite private over there. Even if you know a boundary is okay in one friendship group, it may not be in another or anyone watching. And that's a good point, actually. Within your close-knit circle, it might be the norm. But actually, if you start going into your other friendship groups, or maybe a friend of a friend has invited you out and all of a sudden you're still behaving not in a way that's conducive to the new environment, or you've got other people watching you. Like, imagine a future employer watching you and you're thinking, like, you don't even know what impact that's now going to have because you're constantly playing the fool all the time. It really can have a long-lasting impact. Thank you, Hubs. It was Hubs who got in touch.
I think that's just a really, a really valid point. We think of pranks and hoaxes, they are that ultimate source of humour. And it can be really, okay in that safe environment of that closed group, for example, or your kind of close-knit friends, but it's not going to be appropriate in the workplace, for example. It's not going to be appropriate when you're out shopping with new friends. So yeah, that's just a really good point.
Yeah. Hayley, how can we go about role modeling away? The problem is, like we discussed last month, the problem is that more and more of the percentage of our time is in these screens. So how can we role model in real life and in a way that's going to be seen where the attention is at the moment, which is on these 6-inch screens?
Well, that's the challenge and a half, right? Because so prior to my social media and consumption kind of detox, I was doing a bit of behavioral research on game shows, American game shows, and I watched Battle Camp and The Mole. Really interesting because people will eat each other, right? They don't care as long as they win. There's no loyalty there. So they are watching that kind of stuff on the 6-inch screen, on the 72-inch screen, on the 18-inch, whatever screen they're watching that kind of behavior because it sells, right? If you were to put on social media a healthy relationship, that would not sell. That would not make you a star. I'm sorry, because it's not fun. You look at Gogglebox, I've never watched it. That kind of thing. It's all about the negative side of humanity.
And in fact, because it started off with Meet the Osbournes, wasn't it? And that was a dysfunctional household, F's and Jeffs everywhere. And then we moved into Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which always had a bit of drama. Then you had Made in Chelsea, where they were deliberately put into situations that might make a few of them feel uncomfortable. And now you've got your Love Islands, you've got your Married at First Sight, you've now got your Honesty Box. They're all built to show not necessarily, because some of the relationships on there I'm sure are very genuine, but they're put in situations to use communication as a tool for entertainment, not as a tool for resolution.
Or not as a tool, tool, sorry.
No,
Not
go on. No, I was going to go on.
Not as a tool to demonstrate how to have a healthy relationship, because it's boring.
Mhm.
And I understand entertainment. Obviously, we are part of the entertainment kind of idea, but I can't do that fake stuff. I can't do the doing it just to make people laugh, or I don't know. I don't know. Is it an age thing? Are we getting too old to enjoy it? We're just fuddy-duddies, or do we have some valid points here?
I think we understand more. I genuinely think from a psychological point of view, we actually do understand the implications. Like, you also go back, you think of the formulas of, say Big Brother, for example. There's other examples out there, but it's exploring that, the psychological effects, being under constant surveillance, you're being isolated from family, the social dynamics within a really confined environment. I remember watching, when the first ever one, it was just a psychological experiment. It was very much, it was new. It was just to see how these, everyone from, different environments, different communities would actually work together. But, you fast forward it now, and again, it is just for that entertainment. It's not, you're just throwing people in that are just going to just create chaos. Putting people in those just awkward situations. And again, Hayley, you're right. Just being in a healthy relationship, having that respect of others. Yeah, it's not going to sell. It's not, and that's such a shame. It's it really is.
Yeah,
Is
funny.
there a way of making it sell then?
So again, sorry.
Is there a way? So I can see that another valid point from Instagram, or was it Facebook, is it? It is about advertising and selling and making money. But is there a way of selling healthy relationships?
There'd have to be a shift, I think. There has to be a shift in the narrative. That's what we need to happen. But I'd be interesting to see and explore that narrative, that counter narrative to what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Okay, so another question then.
Yeah.
What do we love about the negativity, or the negative side of humanity?
Well, I'm going to go back to the Big Brother example that Tammy just mentioned. Big Brother season 1 was brilliant, and it was that human experiment. We're going to put them all in the house together and see what happens, and without any involvement from the producers, because it was very much, we're going to witness you, we're going to give you different challenges, we're going to give you different props, you've got your budget, you're going to work together, and without any prompting or cajoling, Nasty Nick was born.
Yeah.
And he became a nationwide scandal. And off the back of that scandal, all of a sudden, whenever Big Brother came back, and when then these new news programs came up, it was, what scandal can we find? We love scandal, and we still got Gareth with us, and he thinks that scandal, or I'm kind of paraphrasing his thoughts here, when we see that and we see these other people, it makes us feel better about our lives. Potentially, because we're watching these people and now we're thinking, oh, I'm glad that's not me. But if we absorb too much, how much are we accidentally filtering some of these aspects into life? Tammy,
I do like that. I do like that point. Yes, looking at them, that's not me. I'm so much better than, or I behave better than. But also then you've got the opposite of actually it is kind of acceptable. There is that kind of that social norm that's actually happening here at the moment, because of the ratings, because of the audience figures, because it's coming back again, that you could actually, after comparing, actually think that it does become normal. It does actually seep in. But it's that reminder actually that it is, fictitious. It's a deliberate it's a deliberate kind of recipe. Because if you go back before Big Brother, there was a show called Castaway. It was back in I think 2000.
yeah, I love that.
And do you remember it? And like, if the listeners, that if you remember, it was a really pioneering early form of reality TV. It'd never been done before. And there was a group of people, 36 of them, I think it was, that were put, in the kind of Outer Hebrides and just left for a year. And we didn't have the exposure, the social media. It was like plagued with just, bad weather. But it was really kind of like interesting to watch because we hadn't seen it before. We hadn't had like a glimpse into other people's worlds for so long. You kind of like joined them over this year. And you could relate to it, I think, is probably the better way to describe it. It was relatable. And you fast forward to the new kind of like reality programs. They're not relatable, and I think that's why people do enjoy it, because it's just removed from day-to-day life.
And then I think, sadly, it comes down to essentially some form of type of cost, because Castaway was brilliant because it showed human resolve. It showed we can overcome adversity. We can overcome our situation, our conditions. We can make the best of the situation we're in. And what I also liked about it is that there was conflict between personality types.
Yeah.
But there is conflict naturally in the world. We're not designed to get on with absolutely everyone. And yet there were still ways that they were overcome in that program. A bit like SAS Who Dares Wins. I'm not so keen on the language and how they berate them and how they shite at all these people. And yet you've got everyday Joes or the celebrities jumping out of helicopters. You've got them overcoming adversity. You do have these solid role models of, I'm going to do that. In fact, Gareth Thomas, who's the former rugby player, he's been on it. He's going to be doing pantomime this December. And it shows just how resilient the human spirit can be. And yet we see it once in a blue moon, and we don't. And what we get fed most of in the marketing machine is, oh, such and such said that person was like that and that they dressed rubbish. Oh my God, I can't believe that they did that. And then it's more like playground drama. Hayley, how can we start role modeling these people that are overcoming their own challenges?
I think, in all honesty, it was something I'm going to have to think about, because people don't want to watch it. They're so socially conditioned to watch and enjoy the chaos, lots of people are in chaos, but yet watching chaos on TV is the thing to do. So I don't really know what the answer is. I think I didn't watch Castaway or Big Brother initially. I think I watched a few of the Big Brothers, but look how long they have been running, that we have been conditioned. We used to know where every trend came from. Do you remember when a trend would come and you would know exactly where it came from? We don't know where these trends are coming from. So to my mind, they're designed for something. And I think they're designed to kind of break the human spirit. And I think that's what it's doing slowly. How would you present it in such a way that it would be classed as entertainment and not boring? I don't know. I'm never lost for words. I'm currently lost for words.
It's just, you think about just, I don't know what makes something, interesting, viral. I don't know, just, I don't know, we're in the business of looking after people's well-being. It just, yeah. When you find the answer, let me know, Hayley.
Yeah. Because there's also the whole other conversation as to just how much of it is being produced on a daily basis, and I imagine that 90% of this type of material is to do with the scandal, and 10% is that look how great our friends and neighbours are, look how wonderful the place that we live is. So it might be a quantity thing. If we just stop making it and start focusing on understanding, just as Gareth's come back with the earlier shows, you could learn how to handle personalities you may not have come across in your everyday life. Now, not a chance. Would have to be badged as educational if you were looking at trying to upskill personalities and things, which they don't really want to do. Let's have a look. And Gareth carries on, actually, was saying that you do have to be on those social media channels. You've got to fight fire with fire. You've got to be on YouTube spreading all the good stuff. And I suppose you've got the likes then of Mr. Beast, who's out there, who, yes, he does do, they're not necessarily pranking, but they put people in extreme situations. He did his own version of the Squid Games and things like that. But also he does videos where he will give a significant amount of money to different charities, different charitable organizations. And it was only 10 days ago or something like that, he posted his views for his videos. And the ones that had the biggest social impact were the ones that were viewed less.
So social impact, right? Social impact, and this is part of the problem, right? People now on social media are only really doing these gestures of goodwill if they're recorded.
Yeah,
we're back to that, aren't we? That they record it because look at me, I'm wonderful. I'm giving this person whatever the help is, money, whatever. You don't have to record that.
No.
But they do. And they are getting millions of views because of who they are already. Their influencers already doing it. But so that's not even a healthy thing, right? Because if you're not recording it, you didn't do it. It didn't happen. So we're trying to balance, I think. But there's got to be, as Gareth is saying there now, you have to be in different places and different media. I actually think I've had a bit of an aha moment,
Cue the music, Tom.
I know.
Well, I'm just thinking that from what Gareth is saying there, it's right. I'm a little bit afraid of putting stuff on because I don't know where I fit in that. Because am I boring? Because I do. My son said to me about 6 weeks ago, he said his videos, they hit a lot of views, right? And I said, well, what are you doing different to me then? And he was like, well, my stuff is a little bit more light-hearted and fun, and yours is too kind of straight. It needs to be more kind of fun or whatever. And I said, but the topics I'm talking about, and he said, yeah, I know that, but that's what people are consuming. We talked about the consumption detox. People are consuming the negative side of life, or the fake side of life, maybe, because he does a lot of not fake stuff, but the kind of the quick fixing kind of stuff. Whereas I am in depth, and so I've had a bit of a realization here about, as Gareth said in one of his previous posts, you just have to get on and do it.
And you know what? Just even thinking about that, we talk about how we can kind of make an impact or change or kind of persuade people differently, I suppose. But we talk about really quickly. We look at algorithms. They'll see a post, they'll see a video, and it doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. All it sees is just it's popular. And you can have all the best will in the world to interact and to say something, but all that does is just push it further and further out. And I know we're coming away from pranks there, but it's just to be mindful of the fact that we can just have a counter narrative. We can, instead of actually engaging with something that we just think is so ridiculous, let's just put something completely opposite on, and just create those posts is why I'm going to.
I'm
laughing at Gareth's post. My work is done. Thank you, Gareth. Come again. You're Thursday of the month.
Yeah, well, I'm funny enough.
We'll send a reminder.
I've just messaged him now. I was like, "What are your thoughts on self-belief as a superpower?" I might give him the link. We'll get him on. Let's have to draw. Oh, I don't think he's available. Let's have a look. So yeah, my work here is done. I'll tell you what. If we start getting more content, so Hayley, because this is a very, very, very good way to link into our second section this evening, which is self-belief as a superpower. And Hayley, you've just expressed doubt live on the radio.
Yeah.
So is there room for both? Can you have your quick fixes and can you have the depth? Because if we're going to go and use their marketing techniques, you need your quick fix to be the top of the funnel. And then once they get to know you, that's when they go down and find the deep stuff. And then that's where you can really help unpick their problems. Yeah, I know about pipeline marketing. Is there room for both? That's something that we'll be looking at. Well, not marketing. That's a different show. But I'm sure that we'd be happy to help with that too. But self-belief is a superpower. Well, first of all, before he disappears, thank you so much to Gareth for joining us, to Hubs for joining us for this particular section and for that insight. It's been amazing to have you join us. And hopefully, if you've been watching or listening, you've resonated with some of these thoughts. See you, Hubs. He is off. He can't join us for part 2, sadly. But yeah, we do the second Thursday of every month, Hubs. So we'll invite you back next month. And yeah, we need to just start creating more of that positive outlook. Hopefully, we're doing that now, and we're sharing different point of view. On the breakfast show, I try and look at the lighter side of life and try and role model. Because whether we like it or not on the radio, we are role models. We're doing it right now, and part of that role modeling is that self-belief, Hayley. So very quick introduction, and then we're going to have a little musical interlude. Self-belief as a superpower.
Well, so yes, I did express some self-doubt. I have a lot of self-doubt when it comes to marketing. But can you have both a quick fix and the deep? Yes, of course. However, I have an issue with the quick fixes if you think that that's the thing to do and you get into the habit of just continuously looking for the quick fix. So if you're on that train, quick fix, get off, need another quick fix, get off. If you're on that, that's not a good place to be. But I do understand that quick fixes are good for crisis or moments of crisis or moments of challenge where you just need something to get you through the moment. Great. But to be reliant on them, which I think personally, we are being pushed to accept the quick fix as the thing. This is the thing you need. I don't think that's a good way to go about it.
No, it just all you're doing is just treating a symptom. You're not actually treating like the main issue. It's just that band-aid.
Well, people don't ever think to look any deeper if they're just constantly looking for a quick fix.
Yeah.
And I'm very much for the deep work.
So are you saying there that because we're now looking for all the quick things all the time, do you think that we don't actually believe that we have a sense of self anymore because we're just jumping from quick to quick?
I think people have lost the understanding of the difference, because even in therapy, that is not necessarily a quick fix, but will last 6 to 12 weeks, for example. You do get some sort of relief, and you get some sort of relief of a quick fix that's in the moment. But the problem being that relief is a short-term relief.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem's still there because you've not dealt with the problem. And I think we are so, if you think about the consumption now in terms of how addicted we are to the next video, the next video, the next video. I know my son and I, we've realized that within the first 2 seconds, we know whether we want to watch a video or not. And then we're on to the next one. Now, 2 seconds is not a lot of time, but you've judged it already. So if you're in that mindset of, I need something now, I need a hit now, it's not good. It's not.
Yeah.
But there's a place for everything, isn't there?
Yeah. Talking of videos, we're going to take a very quick breather right now, and we will be back on video and on DAB, smart speaker, PWR app, where we are going to be talking about self-belief. Let's have Hubs has just sent me another message here. Let's have a quick little look. Something about how much he's enjoyed it, which is wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. And interesting. Views on self-belief is definitely not his superpower. So we'll come back and we'll think about, well, first of all, our own views on self-belief and where you find that mark. and how you find it. And once you've got it, what can you do with it? Which kind of links back to us changing the narrative on society. We just set a little challenge for ourselves here this evening. So don't go anywhere. Gracie Abrams and Hosier, and 2 sweet plays for you now, as it brings us up to 10 o'clock. Still to come, we're going to be talking about it's Dying Matters Awareness Week, and we're going to be hearing, we're going to listen back to the community hour from the last Sunday of every month with Lee Hind, the Third Place, and Paul Sartori Foundation. So that's all still to come here this evening on Healthy Minds, Better Lives.
I could go and read your mind.